Yeah, I wanted to talk about the power of noticing assumptions in awareness. Assumptions, we all have them. We all make them. And they're part of the way that our sort of perceptual apparatus works. So perception, when perception is quite sort of superficial and it's just skimming our experience, it draws conclusions and it makes assumptions from what it notices. So there are the sort of assumptions like, well, you probably assumed that you would wake up this morning, go to sleep overnight, and that you would wake up. I know that I did. It's just there in the back of my mind. And yeah, that's a very sort of deep level of assumption, I think, and deeply ingrained sort of strategy to protect us from our fear of death. Of our fear of not existing. But we've also got a lot of everyday assumptions. And I think a feature of these assumptions is that things will not change, or things will carry on the way that they've generally been. One for me, I'll just give you a few that I've noticed along the way. So one for me is if I haven't slept well, there can be assumption that the day is going to be difficult. It's going to be heavy. It's going to drag. I'm not going to be able to do what I want to do as well as I'd like to, or with very much enjoyment. So it's usually a sort of pessimistic view of things. I think with difficult communication, if we've had difficult communication with someone, then the assumption can be it's always going to be like that. So there's an absolute quality in assumptions as well. It's an always or never. It's not going to change. And just the last one I remember the one time in Burma on retreat, and saying to U Tejani, oh yeah, I've got a migraine. That's me for the next 3 days, because that was the pattern. And him saying, don't think like that. You don't know that. You don't know that. So an assumption is usually, it might be based on a past pattern, but it's projecting us into a future that we just can't know, and sort of pretending that we do know how it's going to be. So many of you will know this little quote by U Tejani. He says, assumptions, presumptions, and speculation are always the work of moha, of delusion. So something else that's going on there is that we're always prioritizing our concepts. With assumptions or speculation, we're prioritizing what we think will happen, rather than being open to the actual experience of what something might be like, even if we've experienced it many times before. We're sort of, and by making an assumption, we sort of tell the mind it's going to be like this. So we're sort of giving a message to our experience that's closing things down. And of course, this affects our meditation. This affects how we work in meditation, how we respond. So an assumption is a particular sort of idea, but another idea that's more in line with awareness and right view, and that supports experience to unfold, is that, well, I have no idea what's going to happen, actually. I have no idea. Anything might happen in this interaction with this 3-day migraine, whatever it is, accepting that we don't actually know. We don't know. We like to know, and we like to sort of feel in charge of ourselves, but actually we just don't know what's going to happen. there can be this sort of ongoing curious investigation or exploration of what might happen. And that probably is sounding very much to you like the awareness practice that we are encouraging our minds to do. Just to say, with this, when U Tejaniya said this to me about the migraines, I did start noticing all the thoughts that said, "Oh, it's going to be like this," and the sort of feelings of shutdown around that. And I could really see how they influenced the actual experience, how they directed it in some way. But once they were seen in awareness, they did that a lot less. Their influence was less because of mindfulness being present. And actually the pattern changed. I still get migraines, but the pattern really changed, and for the better. Yeah, so I was no longer under the influence for such long stretches of time. And I have no doubt that the more sort of subtlety I can bring to that investigation and spotting different assumptions or judgments or thoughts that get in there, then the more capacity there is for change. So I think, yeah, there's a direct link between assumptions and a sort of blocking of change, and conversely, when they're spotted, an openness to change. And that's partly because it opens us up to the present moment, opens us up to what's happening right now. If I don't have these sort of mechanisms of mind in place that are somehow curating the sort of experience that I'm going to be having, even if it's one that I don't particularly like. Bhikkhu Analayo talks about deconditioning the mind of its biases. Yeah, and over time that happens. The mind is conditioned to be more open, more free and spontaneous, and more present, more through being more present, really. Yeah, so I think that's all I wanted to say. Let's get that.